Assalamu alaikum, students. This is lecture number 5A, and sorry for the delay in this lecture because I have been actually a little bit revision from my side, and then I have been bifurcating this topic, which is phase harmonics, into the part 1, part 2, and then a little bit about the slotting harmonics and all that. So it's going to be more like a conceptual lecture today. But before I move on towards the space harmonics, because if you remember, we have done the design of the sorry, the design of the stator, and we have done this D, and we have found out L, certainly, and certainly we have also found out the outer diameter of the machine, that is D naught, and we also have found out the depth of the stator slot. We have also found out the depth of the stator core, and if we talk about the teeth over there, we have talked about the WTS also. Certainly this TS is the subscript over there, and then we have talked about the stator in detail, what is going to be the B average, what is going to be the AC, that is actually ampere conductors per meter of the armature periphery. Now the next thing, which is actually in the design of the machine, is actually the air gap length. Now air gap length is going to be a variable, and that is going to be designated by this LG, or we can use the other variable also, which is actually G, but we are not going to use this G because if you remember, I have told you in the very previous classes that G is equal to the number of slots per pole per phase. So this was G over there, and since this course is going on towards the very end, so certainly this G, that is the number of slots per pole per phase, will be also taken over there. So LG is actually the term which is actually the air length, gap length. So now this air gap length, and I have talked about this one in the previous lectures also, that what is this air gap length and how this air gap length is going to be calculated, or it's going to be kept. Now it's not going to be calculated. The word calculated is a little bit meaningless over there, because there are some factors on which this air gap length is going to be determined, and one of the very important factors for the air gap length, which is actually LG, and the variable is also used in your R.K. Agarwal book. So this air gap length, the first factor, and I guess the most predominant factor, is actually the power factor. So when I'm talking about the power factor, as I have told you previously, and I've asked in a lot of Viva questions as well, that the power factor is the most predominant factor. Why? Because if air gap length is large, then certainly if LG is going to be large, then certainly this means that the power factor is going to be on the poor side, which means certainly it's going to be in the lagging region, because it's an induction machine. Remember, in an induction machine, there is no chance that there is going to be a leading power factor. It's always going to be a lagging power factor. There is no case in which it can come out to be a leading power factor. It's always going to be a lagging power factor. So when it's going to be more air gap length, then certainly why the power factor is small, because if I have a stator over here and I have a rotor over there, and if this air gap length is large, then this means that the MMF, which is actually required to produce this flux, which is actually flowing from the stator towards the rotor, certainly through some teeth and all that stuff, it will be requiring more MMF. Why? Because this air gap length LG is going to be having more reluctance, so you will require more flux, more magnetomotive force, which is actually the MMF from the stator side. So certainly this means that you are going to have more lagging current taken up from the supply, and more lagging current actually means that you are going to have a more power factor. Now, explaining this one with the advent of your equivalent circuit, if you remember your equivalent circuit, it had some resistance in the very start, and then it had a stator leakage reactance. This one was RS, this one was JXS, and in magnetization branch we had this R naught, which was actually the eddy current losses, and this one was the JXM, if you remember. This JXM was the, and then if I don't draw the exact equivalent circuit which we follow, I am actually drawing the this straight lines are not there, if you remember it, because this is an air gap over there. So on the other side, this is actually going to be rotor, which is short circuited. So this is actually JXM or X0, whichever variable you want to use over there. Now since this current which is flowing over here is I0, and since this current is going to be equal to hysteresis plus eddy, and this current is going to be Im, and we all know that I0 is going to be equal to this I hysteresis plus eddy plus Im. So when this Im is large, because you are going to have JXM on a very small side, and why this JXM is going to be on the small side, let me just explain this one. This is the air gap. If Lg is large, okay, if Lg is large, so what will happen? The reluctance of the air gap is going to be large, because I'm not going to go in the formula of that one, but you can write it down. The Rg is equal to mu naught and L over whatever, that permeability and all that stuff over there. Now if reluctance is large, we all know the inductance formula, the L is equal to N square by reluctance. Now N is the number of turns which are certainly producing the flux from the stator side. So if the reluctance of the air gap is large, what will happen? The L is going to be small, and since this L is going to be converted into some XM in this case over there, so this is going to be 2 pi FL over here. You can call it Lg over here just for capital Lg. Actually we have used a small Lg for the air gap length. This is actually inductance of the air gap over here. So this XM which is being produced over here is going to be on a smaller side. So when this is going to be on a smaller side, more current is going to flow in this Im, and certainly this Im current, if I make the voltage phasor over here, this is the voltage phasor over here, and certainly this voltage phasor, if I mark it with another color over here, this is the voltage phasor, and this voltage phasor is certainly going to be the phase voltage applied over there. So the I0, I'm assuming that I0 current is actually like this. So this is I0, and this I0 is going to have two components over here, and one of these components which is in sorry about this one, this line has to be straight, and so this is hysteresis plus eddy, and this is that magnetizing current. So this angle theta, which is actually going to be the power factor angle for V phase and I0 over there, this angle will increase with the increase of Im vector. So Im vector is directly proportional to the JXM. So air gap is going to be a very important factor over here. So those machines which have a larger air gap, they are going to have a less power factor. Certainly the next thing which is going to be the very dominant factor in deciding on this one, that what type of air gap length you are going to assume on this one. The second thing is the overload capacity. Now overload capacity, as we have talked in the previous classes as well, is this, that overload capacity means that your leakage fluxes, they are on the smaller side, and when those leakage fluxes are on the smaller side, you are going to have a little bit more drop which can happen across those impedances. So this means that if I'm talking about this JXS value over there, and if this value is small over there, then certainly this means that you can have more voltage drop, and you can feed in more current through this circuit, and you can have more voltage drop across it. So in other terms, the machine can actually take more amount of current, it can have more amount of heat generated, so it can withstand that overload capacity over there. Now in this case, when I'm talking about the air gap length, now what does the air gap length do? Now if you remember the stator side, if I draw that stator over here in form of maybe like a stator slots over here, and this is my stator slots over here, and on the other side if I make this rotor also available, and this rotor is also made up of again some rotor slot. This is my stator side, and this is my rotor side over here. Now because of the air gap length over here, whatever that air gap length may be, it may be small or large, I will come back to it a later on. These are the conductors placed inside this slot, these are the conductors placed inside this slot, and certainly there will be some conductors in this rotor over here also at this point. Now at this point, if there is going to be a flux produced over there, since over here the flux being produced by this conductor, it will try to flow from here and towards the stator, and then it will come back to the rotor, and then come back to the stator, and then it will come back to the stator, and then come back to the rotor. This type of flux I'm not saying that all of the flux is going to link like this over here, because certainly the rotor is rotating, but there will be a portion of that flux that will be called as the zigzag flux. Now this zigzag flux is not doing anything. Why? Because it's not linking with anything over here. It's not linking with the rotor conductor. It's not producing any EMF over there. It's just flowing zigzag between the stator and the rotor. So this flux, which we have called over here as the zigzag flux, this is going to give rise to some zigzag leakage reactance. So if I have some zigzag leakage reactance, so this zigzag leakage reactance over there, now if air gap length is going to be large, then this zigzag leakage reactance is going to be small, because flux then cannot take that big jump. I'm not saying it's going to be totally zero. It will be there, but it will have a lesser value as compared to it. So this zigzag leakage reactance value is going to be reduced if I'm going to have a larger air gap length, which means LG is on the higher side. So this means that you can have more overload capacity at the gap length. If it is large, then you are going to have a more overload capacity over there. This is one aspect of it. Now, if you want to explain this one with another point of view, which is over here, that if I want to talk about the pulsation noise and the noise, the pulsation losses and the noise. Now, the pulsation losses, what are those pulsation losses over there? Since the same zigzag flux which is flowing between the stator and the rotor. Now, whenever there is going to be a less air gap, these zigzag fluxes are going to flow. And when the rotor is going to rotate, since this flux is flowing inside the air gap, so a time comes in this region over here, there is a more flux, then this region there is a more flux, then this region there is a more flux. So what is happening over there, the torque which is actually going to be applied on the rotor because of that flux available inside the air gap, it's going to have a pulsation effect, which means it's going to have pulses here, here, at this point, at this point. It's not a uniform field. It is having some pulsation over there. So you are going to have some pulsation losses. So the torques which are going to be produced over there, it's not going to be a linear torque. It's not going to be an average torque. It's actually going to be comprised of some jerks over there. So those jerks are actually going to give rise to a lot of pulsation losses over here, and it's going to also produce some noise over there. And if the motor is not working at a very high speed, if I'm talking about something 3000 RPM plus, if you are applying a more frequency than 50 Hertz over there, then this pulsation losses and noise are going to be a very big factor. But again, you can avoid this pulsation losses and noise if you are going to have the air gap length on the higher side. Then you can have this pulsation losses and the noise, they can be reduced considerably. But you are going to get this one at a very big cost, and that big cost we have just done before, that is actually the power factor over there. And power factor, let me remind you that if you are working in Pakistan and you are going to have an induction motor which is going to have a lot amount of power factor problems, then you are going to get a penalty from the LESCO. If you are working in Lahore and if you are talking about WAPDA overall in Pakistan, then the power factor is going to be 0.85, and if you go beyond less than that, certainly you are going to get a penalty, and that penalty is going to be so enormous that you will eventually move on to use actually a very different type of motor. Or maybe if you want to actually remedy it off, you will have to install capacitor banks so that the power factor can be improved over there. So you are going to go towards. So power factor is the main thing. But the last thing which is very important, and that is also a very important factor which we have talked before as well, and that is the unbalanced magnetic pull. Now I have explained this previously also, which is very, very important, and sadly in Pakistan, not from the industry point of view, but from the residential point of view, I have seen many machines in Pakistan which are having their centers offset, by which I mean that the bearings which have been installed over there, they are not of that good quality, and maybe after just like 1 month use or maybe 2 month use or something like that, the bearings, they have a little bit inclination towards one side. So what happens, the bearing is a little inclined towards one side, maybe the left side or the right side or up or down. So what happens? The rotor is actually moved over there. So what happens over there? The rotor is going to be pulled by one side of the stator a lot, and the other side it's not going to be pulled. So on the other side, yes, torques are going to be jerky. That's one big problem. So the unbalanced magnetic pull, eventually, if it continues to go on, the machine will be pulled bit by bit, because the bearings are not very good ones, so they will actually damage themselves, and a point will come when the rotor will eventually strike the stator, and you can see those bruise marks over there. Maybe in some next, or maybe on the MS Teams, I will upload some pictures. I have some pictures with me, which I have opened some induction machines by my own hands, and where the stator and the rotor, they have collided, and that collision have been done because of the faulty bearings, or they have been because of the unbalanced magnetic pull. Now, unbalanced magnetic pull, very easy way to avoid it: keep the air gap length large, because if the air gap length is large, then this means that the pull is not going to be that much significant. So if you are going to keep that LG small, then the magnetic pull is not going to be that much factor. But all of these four factors which we have just discussed now, the most important one is the power factor, because power factor is the one which is the more electrical dominant factor. And certainly if your power factor is on the lower side, your efficiency is also going to be on the lower side, because a lot of reactive power is actually going to be consumed over there. So you are going to have an expensive expense of the penalty, or expense of the power factor equipment over there. If you are having capacitors over there or something like that, has to be added over there. Now if I talk about the empirical formula over there are many formulas available in your book, and I won't suggest to use any of them, but as per as your design, whatever it is, then you can use it over there. Supposedly one formula given in your book is that Lg can be equal to 0.2 plus 2 under root dl, and this is in millimeters. Remember, this air gap length can be something from 3 to 4 millimeters or 5 millimeters on the maximum side. The smaller the better, because certainly I just told you the power factor is one thing, and you can view it over there. The next formula, which is also written over there, is this, that it can be 0.125 plus 0.35 d, and then there is the length added over there, and then you have 0.015 VA in again millimeters over there. Now this equation takes the peripheral velocity as a factor, and it should be taking it. Why? Because the peripheral velocity, if it is very large, then there are chances then you should have a larger air gap length, because a peripheral velocity of reaching approximately 30 meters per second, or even beyond that, if you are using it for some specialized material, then certainly there are chances that the peripheral velocity or a tangential velocity will make it a little bit shaky. So that shaky part of that rotor, you have to have a larger air gap length, so that it can actually maneuver itself and has no problems whenever it is rotating inside the stator. The next thing, that is that Lg, the next formula, which is again very simple, is it that 0.2 plus d in millimeters, where remember all of these d and l in the above formulas, they are in meters. This is very important. In fact, I would like to point one problem over here in the quiz 3 which I took over here. There were many cases in which the rounding off for d and l, that was done in meters. Please refrain from that. For example, there was a d which was taken out supposedly as 0.19 meters. Now you cannot approximate it to 0.2 meters. This is a huge approximation. Yes, if it was something, for example, this d was equal to something 0.19091 something. So if it was in meter, you can take it to 190.91 millimeters. And then if you want to approximate it, you can call it 191 millimeters. This is okay, but don't approximate it in your, this is totally wrong. Please do not do this one, because this is actually just adding like 10 millimeters inside the total diameter over there. Please do this rounding off only in the millimeter scale, otherwise it's going to be difficult for you. So these are three formulas for the air gap length, and I hope this air gap length formulas can be used. Other than that, if they are not given in your equation or your question or your design equation, maybe the question already asks you, okay, you can use a suitable air gap length and the smaller air gap length. Now air gap length is actually like a mechanical factor. Maybe you can design a very good thing with the smaller air gap length, but when it's going to be physically made, the air gap length cannot be made that much. So then you are going to be restrained by the mechanical structure of your factory or from wherever you are designing it. So it will be, you will be asked by the manufacturer or the physical persons who are actually working on it, and they have to actually make those bearing in that actually perfect position. So it's very difficult that you can actually have the air gap length equal to that value. So it's very important that your air gap length has to be according to what you can actually practically do. That you just may ask, okay, you can just make a 3 mm air gap length, and 3 mm is so small that when it goes into the manufacturing case, then sometimes the stator is hitting the rotor or something like that is happening, and you are damaging the machine over there. So this is very important that air gap length is a value which should be taken in consideration, that what are your mechanical problems and how much efficient or precision you can have the rotor exactly balanced out in the center of the stator over there. Okay, now since we have talked about the air gap length and we have devised some formulas over there, now I'm going towards the space harmonic. But before I go on towards the space harmonic, I hope everyone has gone through the power electronics course and you have an idea what is harmonics and what I mean by the fundamental and what I mean by the second harmonic, the third harmonic, the fourth and all that. And you have a complete idea about the odd harmonics and even harmonics. And if you don't have, I advise you to skip this part. Please revise that portion of the power electronics in which there is a discussion that how time waveform can be actually represented by a Fourier series of odd harmonics, even harmonics, and what are multiples and how even and odd harmonics they are present or not. Now, why are these harmonics present over there? Before I move on towards the space harmonics, I want to talk about something. Now, we in induction machine, we have a sinusoidal supply applied from the source over there, which is certainly going to be a three-phase supply, and that three-phase supply is certainly going to be a source, a B phase, and a C phase, which is certainly going to be applied from some source. And what I mean by this, that you have a VB, VBA, VC, and VC supply over there. Okay, so I have this VA, VB, and VC supply over there, and that is supposedly coming on from WABDA, and you have a three-phase machine. Now, I am strictly going on towards a three-phase machine, and I mean by the three-phase machine that you are going to have a three-phase supply applied from the source, and I'm not considering the harmonics which can be present inside VA, VB, and VC. And what I say that they are not present any kind of harmonics inside VA, VB, and VC, by which I mean that there will be no time harmonics present inside your machine, which means that the VA supply, VB, and VC, they are completely sinusoidal. So I'm not talking about any time harmonics. The first thing, whenever I have a concept of harmonics introduced inside the induction machine, there are like 3 or 4 possibilities which are actually going to produce harmonics. The first point is this, that if there is any core saturation inside the machine, certainly when there is going to be a core saturation, either it's going to occur in any teeth or either it's going to occur in some slot area or maybe inside the rotor teeth or somewhere, then certainly this means that according to the BH curve, there is certainly going to be a little bit increase in current over there, and it's not going to be sinusoidal. And certainly when it's not going to be sinusoidal, it's going to be having a lot amount of harmonics, maybe third harmonic, fifth harmonics, or whatever. Why they are not even harmonics, we will discuss that later on. So it can be because of the core saturation, but yes, you can decrease it with use of better materials and by better designing without going into the saturation of the BH curve. The second thing, which is actually very important also inside the machine, which we have just discussed now previously, is the air gap irregularity. Now, what I mean by this air gap irregularity, this air gap irregularity is not the air gap irregularity because of the slots or because of the rotor slots or the stator slots. This air gap irregularity is because of either the machine not centrally aligned or not having a little bit equal spacing. Now, maybe as a designer, you may say over there that if one side has having something like 2.89 mm air gap length, the other side is having something 3.11 millimeter air gap length, you may say, okay, this will not hurt. But if I go on the harmonic side, because of this air gap irregularity, there is going to be a harmonic also introduced inside the machine MMF, that is the magnetomotive force produced over there. So this is very important, that your air gap is not having any irregularity. So these two are going to produce some harmonics, but they are going to be of very low level. So these two can be avoided by a better design, by some better designing of the machine and some better controls on the physical. The third thing, and which I am going to discuss today, is actually called as the harmonics, which are produced because of the winding distribution. And these winding distribution, I am actually talking about space harmonics. And by space, I mean the space which is inside the air gap, that is actually the rotor and the stator. So the harmonics which are going to be produced are actually going to be produced inside the MMF waveform. So they are actually going to be produced because of the winding distribution. The fourth one, which I will most probably be discussing in the next lecture, or maybe the C part of this lecture, are actually because of the stator and rotor slotting. This is very important, and these are called as the slotting harmonics. Now what I mean by stator and rotor slotting, since I just told you that the air gap, if it is uniform from the design point of view, from the manufacturing point of view, but the air gap has an irregularity always there because there is a stator slot over there. There is going to be an opening over there of each stator slot and also a rotor slot opening over there. So there is going to be an irregularity. So if you are going to have some deep slots or some even narrow slots there, so there are going to be some always an air gap difference over there, which means then reluctance difference, which we have talked previously also, that you are going to have more slots, you are going to have more irregularities or more bumps inside the air gap, which is actually the average magnetic field inside the air gap over there. So they are also going to give rise to some slotting harmonics over there. But here I am confining myself today for this is the space harmonics, and by space harmonics I mean that I am talking about the winding distribution. And if you remember the two types of winding distributions which we have done previously, if your machines course, if you have talked about, then I am talking about the first one is the concentrated winding, and the second case is actually the distributed winding. Now, when I'm talking about the concentrated and distributed winding, I hope everyone has an idea that what I'm talking about G equal to 1, and for distributed winding, I'm talking about something G greater than 1, and I've talked about this in very much detail that G can be from any value of from 3 to 5 for a medium-sized machine. Now, what is this winding distribution and how this is going to create those space harmonics? For this purpose, let me take on for this curve over here. Now, this is not a three-phase machine, and I have not shown over here the A phase, B phase and C phase. For now on, just assume that the A phase is there. If you can see this circular stator over there, the rotor is just shown as just a simple sphere over there. There is a magnetic axis of the stator coil over there. This is the alpha angle, and this alpha angle is actually going to be the MMF, which is actually going to be plotted against this alpha over there. Now what has happened over here, if I just zoom in over there is an A dash conductor, and inside this A dash conductor, as you can see, there is a cross, which means that the current is actually going in. And if you can use your right hand rule, that the turns, the fingers curled according to your configuration, these are the direction of the current of magnetic field which are going to be produced over there. And if I move on towards the lower portion over here in this conductor, so overall in this conductor there is going to be a dot, and if you again use the same rule, thumb rule, the thumb pointing out in the direction of the current, this is the direction of the magnetic field which is actually going to be produced over there. Now this is a simple case of a concentrated winding where A phase is only having one slot over here, and in this case I am not talking about B and C phase. You can add B and C phase in this diagram very easily on this one and impose it, and you can get the answer. But I am just taking the A phase over there, and here in this A phase I am taking G equal to 1, which means that how many slots per pole per phase. Now if you see these dots and the cross over there, and these are the direction of the magnetic field, the red color directions over there, and based on this one You can see this is the north pole and this is the south pole. And this certainly is going to move with a speed NF because of the three-phase supply, and when A phase is going to diminish and B and C phase are going to change over there. So certainly there is going to be revolving. But our question at present is not this, that it is revolving or not. Yes, certainly we know because of the three phase it's going to revolve, but because of this single slot per pole over here, which is actually G is equal to 1, what is going to happen? The space harmonics which I'm talking about is actually this space over here, this space inside the air gap. What is the flux waveform inside this air gap, which I am making it as green color at present. So I am interested in how the flux changes inside this green color air gap. So if I am having this alpha angle start from here at this 0, at this point it's going to be 90, at this point it's going to be 180, and then at this point this is going to be 270, and then it's going to complete the whole 360 degrees. How this is going to be. Now if this is an n turn coil, which means they are certainly like 100 turns, 200 turns, whatever that n value is done, and there is an I current flowing through them. That I can be 1 ampere, 2 ampere, depending upon the design of the machine. It's a concentrated winding machine, so this is having G equal to 1. Now if you see over here, certainly if you see over here around this conductor, if I just zoom in over there, the conductor which is the conductor which is just close to the flux which is going to be produced just close to it, around this conductor, just apart from here in this A region, the flux direction is different, and here in this area the flux direction is different. So this certainly means that the north pole is actually in this case going from this portion of the region to this portion of the region. So all this blue color region which I have identified is actually the north pole, and if I identify it with maybe a orange color just for now, this region over here is the south pole. Now in this north and south pole, how the flux lines are behaving, how their intensity is behaving, that is actually our interest, that how this Ni, which is actually going to be the MMF, is going to be over there. Now if I refer back to this diagram, as you can see over there, I have made over here the three over here. It's actually the same two slots. The third one over here, as you can see, this one is actually just a repetition of the first one. So this is A, this is A dash. As you can see, I can just zoom it over there. Let me use a different color over there for this one. So this is A and this is A dash. So you can see this is A and A dash, and the next one, as you can see, this is again A. So this is just a repetition. So that what I have done now, the whole circular motion, it has been now written as a rectangular developed diagram, just like we have. So this is the stator over here, this is the stator region, and this is the rotor surface, and I am concerned that green color region which I was talking about is this region where I am interested in, and I want to plot that how the flux is varying in this region over there. Now since in each of these slots there is n number of turns over there, there is an I amount of current flowing over there, so certainly what is the MMF over there? The MMF is certainly Ni. Now since Ni, if flux is going to be produced, MMF is going to be produced by this conductor, half of that Ni is going to be here in this region and half of the Ni is going to be in the other region. So when I am going to see this waveform of the MMF waveform, let me use it some other color over here. So if I use the green color, so the actual MMF waveform which is going to be produced is this waveform, this square shaped waveform over here. Now how it is like this, if you can see over there, this is a cross and this is the dot over there. So when you are adding the number of turns from here and here, so you are getting a square waveform in all this area between A and A dash, and this is actually the north pole. So if I move on over here, between this slot and this slot, this is the north pole over here, and if I have plotted it in form of a MMF waveform, this is this green color, this is the north pole, and certainly this is the south pole over there. So you are having the maximum MMF at your space angle of alpha at 0, and it is having a straight line over here. It is having a straight line. And where was that 0 angle? If I take it back over there, this was 0. If I don't want to make it 0 supposedly over here, we can just take it over here opposite. So this is that 0 angle, and from 0 angle to 90, this is North Pole, and from this 0 angle to this one, it's also North Pole. So over here you can see in this 0, from here back to this one and back to this one, this is a North Pole, and it is the green color waveform. Now this is the MMF in front of A and A dash slot. Between A and A dash slot, it's a square waveform, and inside the air gap, what is happening, on half of the air gap, it's the North Pole, which is actually a straight line, so the MMF is constant, and on the north-south side, it is actually a negative side, so this is half of Ni over there. Because what is the total MMF being added over there? That is Ni. So half is in front of the North Pole, half is in front of the South Pole. If you add them together, this is certainly Ni total. Now, this square waveform, as we all know, according to the Fourier analysis, I hope everyone has gone through that signal and systems course or about the power electronics. All of this square waveform is going to be full of harmonics, and if I'm not wrong with some calculations, approximately 48.3% of this whole square waveform is going to be filled with harmonics of this one. So you can plot the fundamental, you can plot this, the odd harmonics. Now I don't need to tell over there that even harmonics are not going to be present if you do a Fourier analysis of this green color waveform. So the fundamental which you are going to plot over here, this is that fundamental waveform. So this fundamental is going to be a sine wave of the 50 Hertz frequency, or whatever frequency you have applied over there on this machine, because we all know that the revolving magnetic field, we always have this 120 F by P. So this red color is going to be the fundamental, and certainly there is going to be a third harmonic also present. And if I want to draw that third harmonic over there, that third harmonic, if supposedly if I draw it over here, it will be something like this one, and it will be like this one. Now as this lecture goes on, maybe in the second part I will talk about it, that this third harmonic is not going to be there. Why it's not going to be there, we will discuss that one also. But just for now, we are going to be third harmonic, fifth harmonic. For just at present, you are going to have first fundamental, that certainly I can call it as a fundamental. Then I'm going to have the third harmonic, the fifth harmonic, the seventh harmonic, ninth harmonic, and so on over here. Why there is no even harmonics? Please remember one simple rule: whenever there is a waveform which is symmetrical with respect to the x-axis. Here the green color waveform, it is symmetrical with respect to the x-axis, this point, so it is not going to have an even harmonics over there. This is a very simple rule from the Fourier series, that if your waveform is symmetrical with respect to the x-axis, you are not going to have any even harmonics over there. So only odd harmonics are going to be there. Just for now, as this topic concludes over there at the very end, I will talk in detail that the third harmonic or the multiples of the third harmonic, because here afterwards this will be 9, then this will be 11, then this will be 13, and then this will be 15. So all of these third harmonics or the multiples of 3 harmonics, they are not going to be there also inside a machine, inside a 3-phase machine. Why? We will just find it out later at present. Now this is the EMF or the MMF, sorry, over here inside a concentrated machine. So what you got by a concentrated machine, you had a green color waveform, MMF, that was square waveform, and it had all lots of frequencies. So it has the fundamental 50 Hertz, it has a third harmonic, and if you want me to draw the supposedly the fifth harmonic over here as well, so that will be, it will be a little difficult, but I can try on this one. So I hope this I have drawn the full 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, sorry, I have drawn the fifth harmonic, and it has to be actually the fifth harmonic. This is going to be 1. This is going to be 2. Yes, this is now 3, and okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now this is the fifth harmonic. So you can see that the third harmonic, the third harmonic is not going to be there. We will discuss it later on. So the fifth harmonic, the seventh harmonic. So all these harmonics are present inside a concentrated winding MMF. Now why this is not desirable? One line answer: because the space harmonics or the air gap MMF, it has to be sinusoidal because the rotor is going to cut that MMF and the rotor induced EMF is going to be, because what is going to be according to the uh, rule, E is equal to N d phi by dt. So the EMF is going to be induced inside the rotor conductor. This is a simple rule. So if d phi is going to be, or phi is going to be the first harmonic, the fundamental, the third harmonic, the fifth harmonic, the seventh harmonic, the ninth harmonic, so the induced EMF inside the rotor is going to be composed of E1 also, which is the fundamental. Then it is also going to be composed of E3. It's also going to be composed of E5. It's also going to be composed of E7 and so on. So this is very detrimental for the machine that you are having all sorts of harmonics, and these harmonics inside the rotor, when they are going to produce their own amounts of current and their own amount of poles over there, they are going to get a problem. We will go in that much detail over there, but just for now, as you can see over there, a concentrated winding where G is equal to 1, the MMF waveform is a square wave, and if we do a Fourier analysis of this one, it has all sorts of harmonic from the fundamental, the third, the fifth, the seventh and ninth. So if the square waveform is talked about, you have all these harmonics which I am talking about. Yes, because of the third three-phase machine and its winding design, the third harmonic and its multiple, they will be eliminated. We will discuss it later on. Okay, now I have just imported over here a simple picture, and as you can see over here in this picture, what I have done over here, this is now a distributed winding. Now again, I have just made three phases over here, and sorry, not three phases, only one phase over here. This is the A phase over here. As you can see, this is, you can call it A, and you can call it A dash over there, because you are going to have the current flowing inside one dash, and then it's going to come out from one. You're going to do some number of turns, and then it's going to go into 2 dash over here. Again, the current is going to go in, and then it's going to come out from the 2, and you are going to do some n number of turns over there, and then again you are going to go in 3 dash, and then you are going to come in out of that 3. So this is over here, the winding A phase is spread. Now this spread is how much degrees. That spread is designated by this sigma symbol over here. How this is calculated and how, we will talk about it on a later scale, not in this lecture at present. But what our concern is at present is this, that how making this winding G equal to 3, because here what has happened, I have made for one single phase G is 3, which means number of slots per pole per phase. Because here I have a north pole, here I have a south pole over here. So certainly this means that I am going to actually have 3 slots per pole per phase for one pole over there, so 3 for the other one. So G is equal to 3. Now how this is going to change the MMF waveform inside the air gap? So again, the question is this, that this air gap inside the magnetics, the MMF inside the air gap, how this is going to change over there. So this is the main question over here in the air gap. Now as you can see over there, because they are displaced by some, the space over there, by some angle over there, let's assume, since I am having approximately 6 slots over here for one phase, so this means that there will be total SS will be equal to something like 18 slots inside the whole machine. Now this is not some universal calculation. It's very simple over here. As you can see, there are 6 slots here for one phase. So if it will be B or B dash, it will be also 6 slots. If it will be C and C dash, it will also be the slot. 6 slots over there. So if you add all these A, B and C phases slots, so SS will be equal to 18. And as you can see over there, the whole 360 degrees is there, and you have 18 slots. The angle between them, that is between the angle between this 1 dash and this 2 dash, if I count in terms of mechanical angle, this is almost equal to 20 degrees over there, because there are 18 slots over there. So certainly this shift is going to be something like 20 degrees over there, and all of the slots, the angular displacement between each one of them is going to be 20 degrees. So what this tells you, that the flux which is going to be produced, or the MMF which is going to be produced by 1 dash and 1, and the flux which is going to be produced by 2 and 2 dash, they are going to be 20 degree displaced in the space. This is very important. So what has happened, let me go on towards the next diagram. As you can see over there, Again, a similar type of a diagram where everything has been made into a developed diagram. All the slots are added over there. So this is the stator surface, just like that shown over there in the circular way, and then there is the 1 dash, 2 dash and 3 dash. And here you can easily see that where there is, let me change this one. So this is 1 and there is a dot over there. So based on whatever the current direction over there, you can see from this one towards this 1 dash, there is this upper MMF over there. You can call it the North Pole or whatever you can call it, which is being produced by the 1 and 1 dash coil. So this is one coil. So this is the first coil which is present inside the A phase. So this is producing it, and then afterwards this is going to be negative and the negative direction. Then comes the 2 and 2 dash. As you can see again, this angle between this over here is actually going to be 20 degrees in this case. So it's going to produce this one, and it's going to be a shifted, just the same shape, nothing fancy over here. It's going to be just 20 degrees apart, just like the previous one. And then if you are going to have the third phase, this will again 20 degrees apart from the previous one, or in actual this will be like 40 degrees apart over here. This is again the mechanical angle. Please remember, this is not the electrical angle. I hope everyone has an idea what is meant by electrical and mechanical angle. Please have a reading from your machines course on this one so that you have a better idea, because in the next few lectures I am going to use that a lot. Now these are the 3 MMF waveforms by the 3 coils over here. The first coil, the second coil, I can have this is the second coil over here, and this is the third coil over here. And so all these 3 MMFs, they are going to be added up. So when I'm going to add them up, so the final waveform is something like this. So when I'm going to add them together, let me use another color over here, just like I did it for the previous one. So this is going to be the MMF over here, like this. So this purple color or red color, whatever color I have used over here, this is the MMF waveform inside the air gap. And you can see over here, for wherever it is having a little bit above than 0 value. So from this point to this point, this is the South Pole, and the remaining, this is the North Pole, and this is the North Pole over there. So now what is happening, previously what was happening, if I redraw that flux waveform, which was actually in the concentrated winding case, when it was in front of the South Pole, let's just assume it was something like this. And when it was in front of North Pole, it was actually opposite, but just for now I am taking it. So it was something like this. It was a square waveform. Now what has happened, it has become a step waveform. Now this is more close to a sinusoidal MMF. Now when we are going to take a sinusoidal shape of this one by using again the Fourier series over there, this time the amount of harmonics are going to be a little less. So what this means, that by having more number of G, that is actually the number of slots per pole per phase, you are going to have a lot amount of harmonics reduced, and it's going to be more like a sinusoidal shape. So the MMF, if it is going to be sinusoidal shape, which means then that the flux is also going to be sinusoidal, and when the EMF inside the rotor is actually going to be talked about, then this N d phi by dt is going to be the EMF inside the rotor is going to be a sinusoidal. But if it is composed of again harmonics, which are sadly always there, because if you want to have only the fundamental, there is only one way by which you can actually keep the number of harmonics to 0, or almost is this, that this number of steps which I have taken over here as 3, which means that G is equal to 3. If I make this G equal to infinity, then this means that I will be having a sinusoidal shape of the MMF inside the air gap. Now practically speaking, G is not able to have an infinite value. Reason, very simply, infinite does not have an answer over there. So the best game is this, that you can have a G of higher value, your MMFs are going to be more sinusoidal. So that's why the range that was given previously in the number of stator slots selection, I told you at that time that you can have a G from equal to 3 to 5. Now this G equal to 3 to 5 was very, very important, because if you go more than 5, This means that you are actually now having more number of slots. You are going to have more mechanical difficulty. You are going to have a lot of slots over there. The slots have to be cut down. The cost is also going to be more. Mechanically, the stator is not going to be robust. So technically speaking, if you can go with a G value of maybe like 6 or 7, you are going to have better results. But the main advantage is this, that you are going to have less harmonics if you are going to have a G value larger over there. Now this trapezoidal MMF waveform, sometimes in some of the course books they actually save it because the average value is taken. So this, you can see, this is the average value over here. If I just draw it with maybe some other color just for now. So this is that trapezoidal waveform. This is that trapezoidal waveform, and just like this one. So this is the average value. So you can see this is that one, this one. So this is the average value. So this average value. So in some textbooks you will find out that in distributed winding, where G is taken as 2, 3 or something like that. One thing very important at present, please don't take this waveform of MMF as the final answer, because this is just being produced by one phase. In some cases, if you have seen the revolving field theory whenever it was discussed graphically in the machines course, I don't know how many of you have done that in graphical way, but whenever you do that, you have A phase, B phase and C phase all combining together. So this is going to be a combined effect of all AB. At present, I have just shown the A phase. At the same time, you can add the B phase and the C phase and then the final form of the MMF. But yes, certainly at any given time, A, B and C, their combined effect is going to be the similar waveform, because all of those slots are also displaced by that spread angle with the angular pitch over there. And that angular pitch, just for those who are a little bit curious over there, this angle between these two over here is called as this gamma over there. This gamma is going to be equal to that angle between the two slots over there. We will discuss this in much detail afterwards as the next lecture progresses. But just for now, the main point is that the space harmonics are those harmonics which are being produced because of the winding distribution inside the induction machine, and they are produced because of G equal to 1 if it is a concentrated winding, and if it is a distributed winding, if you can theoretically or practically make G equal to infinity, then space harmonics are practically non-existent. But yes, since you are not possible to have more than like 5 or even 6 something G value, so it's not practically possible that you can have the space harmonics reduced. So this means that the rotor is going to have some harmonic induced EMF, and this harmonics inside the stator, they are also going to be present. So this harmonic in the stator and these harmonic induced EMFs inside the rotor, they are going to give rise to some torques which are going to be called as harmonic induction torques. This is very important, and we will discuss this in the next part of this lecture. So these are called as harmonic induction torques. Up till now, we have been talked about that there is a fundamental waveform which is rotating at 50, supplying a 50 hertz and rotating with a speed ns. And then there is a rotor EMF, and that is also producing an MMF which is also moving with the same speed ns, and these two are going to give rise to an induction torque that is actually the fundamental induction torque, and by which the induction machine moves. Now in the next part of this video, I am going to tell you that because of these harmonics, which I just proved just now that they are present over there because of the space harmonics, they are going to be producing some harmonic induction torques, and they are because of the stator harmonics and the rotor harmonics. And why are the rotor harmonics present? Because the MMF inside the space or the air gap actually is composed of all sorts of harmonics, the third, the fifth, the seventh, ninth and all that. And in the next lecture we also prove that why triplet harmonics or the third or multiple of 3 are not present. We will talk about that one also. So this is all from here. I hope please revise this one, and the next part I will talk about on much detail for this one. Thank you.